Alright, so it looks like the sandworm is just a reskin of the purple worm, just for Magic the Gathering. And since it suggests here that the purple worm statistics in the monster manual work well for the sandworms of Amonkhet, let's just use that. I guess the only difference would be, like with the hydras of Amonkhet, they have snake head, so maybe that's what this sandworm is. It's basically the purple worm with just a snake head of sorts. Well then, let's get right into this. We have the purple worm, a gargantuan monstrosity. And let me zoom in really quick, just so we can focus in on the stat block, because that's what we're here for. And we have a gargantuan monstrosity with 18 natural armor, 15 hit dice, a constitution score of 22, 8 wisdom, and 4 charisma. And it's a CR 15. That's it for the base stats. So then we will come down into the skills section, and we only really care about the saving throws here. And it's only got 2 saving throws. And my tool is already set up for 0 to 2 saving throws, which gives no bonus. So our purple worm has no skills to really worry about. Moving down into the traits section, we have Tunneler here. And we can see that the worm can burrow through solid rock. Unfortunately, that doesn't do anything for our purple worm either, and in effect, the sandworm from Amonkhet. So the next thing is just moving down into the action section here to see where we're at so far. So first things first, we have a multi-attack where the worm can make 2 attacks, one with its bite and one with its stinger. Well, looking at its bite and its stinger, we see that it has a plus 14 to hit. So we'll come over here to the attack bonus and switch that from 3 to 14. And let's take a look at the bite and tail sting. So for the bite, let's see here. We've got 10-foot reach, which is nice, and it deals 22.5 points of damage because it's got 3d8, so we have an odd number of dice. And then on top of that, we have a dex save or be swallowed. So it's immediately just goes right into a swallow. We don't even have to worry about rebiting on the next turn. This worm is so big that when it bites, it swallows immediately. That's good to know because every turn it attacks, it's going to bite and swallow. So in theory, we're going to look at 3 rounds of swallow damage for 3 targets in here. So let's turn on swallow, and we're going to use the 21 points of acid damage that we got from the stat block and multiply that by 3 targets because every round our purple worm is biting a creature and immediately swallowing it. So we'll do 21 times 3. And for 2 rounds of swallow damage per target, actually technically we should, no, we'll come back to this if I have to bring it down to 2 because technically 2 is the minimum maximum that we usually focus on. But because every round of combat the purple worm is biting a new target, we may have to go overboard here. And right now we're looking at plus 84 points of swallow damage alone for 3 targets in the first 3 rounds of combat. Coming back over here to the workspace, let's see what else we have. The rest of it is just about how much damage that the purple worm and the sandworm need to make. And we don't need to worry about the rest of this. All we cared about was how much is the bite doing in damage and how much is the stomach acid doing. So now let's come down to the tail stinger and see where that's at. Again, we have a 10-foot reach, and one target will take 19.5 points of damage. And then a multi-attack is simply 1 of each. So we will just add the bite to the tail for a total of 42 damage on average, including the swallow damage of 21 points of damage for 1 target 2 times. And that's how it goes for swallow. With everything added in, we're actually a little overrated at the moment. What else is going on with the... Oh, wait, I missed something. I forgot the rest of the tail stinger. I got the initial point of damage, and then I forgot the poison damage as well. So we have an additional 42 points of damage if the save is failed. So that brings us to 84 points of damage for the multi-attack. Oh, we're not even done. I am getting way ahead of myself here. And I forgot to add in every multi-attack for combat. So we'll just multiply that by 3 rounds of combat for a total of 84. And actually, we have an underrated purple worm. But let's take the swallow damage down from 3 targets to 2 and see where that brings us. Because right now, we're looking at a CR 18. 3 steps higher than what we're expected. With a DCR of 12 and an OCR of 23, this might be a little bit much if we're doing 3 points or 3 targets that are being swallowed. So we'll switch this from 3 to 2 and see how that changes. Now remember, follow the green here on the side when I hit enter. Alright, doesn't really make much of a difference. Brings the CR down from 18 to 17. Let's see what happens when we move it from the 14 to hit and the 19 to DC. I mean, we can get an idea of what's going on here. As we see, with that much damage, an attack bonus of 14 is 4 over the expected, which is giving us our +2 shift. So when we use the saves, the save is expected, and that's the rating we should have. And when everything's put in, our DCR stays at a 20 rather than shifts up to a 22, and now we're looking at a CR 16 Purple Worm. But the problem is that in order for the poison to hit, we need to tail sting first. So it's a weird situation of, yeah, the DC is right where it's expected, but the tail stinger has to hit the target first, unfortunately. So the Purple Worm is somewhere around a CR 16 or 17, depending on whether or not first the tail stinger hits, and then if the attack is saved or not. Because even then, if the target saves on the tail stinger, it's still taking half that damage. So we're looking at 21 points of damage. So there we go. Purple Worm technically is probably a CR 17.